So Maresh is a professor and the chair of the Human Sciences Department. His first professional appointment was the director of the Health Institute at St. Luke's Hospital in Kansas City, Missouri. He was then recruited to the Midwest Research Institute, presently MRI Global in Kansas City, where he served as a senior research scientist in the departments of bioorganic chemistry and biobehavioral sciences. He's a fellow in the American College of Sports Medicine and the National Academy of Kinesiology. Prior joining OSU, he was serving at the University of Connecticut as director of the Human Performance Laboratory for 29 years. That's very impressive. And department head of kinesiology from 1988 to 2012. So that's also a long-term service. So I would like to invite Dr. Maresh to present or share with us.
Thank you. I think I probably was at the University of Connecticut longer than Bernard's been living. Which makes me feel particularly young. In listening to that talk, I'm just kind of blown away by a project that would have to work with so many people in really what is partly behavioral change. I mean, how do you get people to do something differently than what they're used to and have become comfortable with, whether it's good for them or not. It's certainly something that I'm sure will happen. This seems like an important first step in improving the quality of the supervision in South Africa. All right, what I was asked to do today is just talk about an initiative that we have going with our department that is related to a larger initiative. And that is principally involved with actually our recent trip to Brazil to meet with some scientists and to try to establish some research and some educational opportunity exchange programs between different universities within Brazil and Ohio State. Now, I didn't realize that actually there has been a formal relationship between the University of Sao Paulo and Ohio State University for over 55 years. So it's been going on for a long time. And some of the other data that I actually gathered today when I went to a presentation earlier is that in addition to having that long-term relationship with the University of Sao Paulo, which is really one university, there are several different branches, but there are also additional universities as well, that Ohio State has 13 memorandums of agreement with Sao Paulo. They have 6 study abroad programs that have been in place for some time, and they actually have one joint degree program, and that is specifically in the area of plant science. Now, if there's any place that you want to study plants, it's going to be Brazil. I mean, it is so rich in its ecosystem, and there are things in Brazil that don't exist anywhere else in the world. So it's a place where there is a lot of research in plant science in terms of medical innovations and medical treatments and all of that. So it's a very interesting place. So they've had this long-term relationship with Brazil, and in more recent years, Ohio State has developed what they are referring to as the Gateway program. Now, they have currently established 3 Gateway programs. The first one was established with China, I believe around 2010 or 2011. Okay. There is also a gateway connection between Ohio State and India, which I believe was established in 2013. And even though they've had this long relationship with Brazil, they are now adding a new dimension by starting a gateway program with Brazil. And that official kickoff really occurred, I think, in 2013. So it's more recent. Now, when they developed this first gateway project, and that gateway project had 2 major goals. One is to see what kind of opportunities there were, or that could be developed for faculty in Brazil to come to Ohio State, faculty from Ohio State to go to Brazil, but also for student exchange. Now, Brazil has a lot of money that they have provided to make it available for students to come to the United States to study for anywhere from 3 months to a year. All expenses paid, okay? And there's a lot of interest in those students to come to the United States. The difficult part, of course, is trying to get faculty to bring those students in, or they're also wondering really what's the quality of the students, is there going to be some sort of a language barrier, that type of thing. So, but there hasn't been as much interest in sending students from Ohio State to Brazil. Now that has occurred on some occasions. It did happen in plant science. It has happened on a couple of occasions in nutritional science, and I think also in food technology it has happened. But we do not have the mechanisms in place right now to provide the kind of support to our students to go there as Brazil can provide to their students to come here. All those things are kind of underway, trying to change some of that. So what they did when they started the Gateway with Brazil in 2013 is there is an organization in Brazil. The acronym is FAPESP. And really what FAPESP refers to, it is the Research Foundation for Brazil. Okay, I don't speak Portuguese, okay? But this FAPESP actually represents the Research Foundation of Brazil. And it is comparable in many ways to our National Institutes of Health or so NIH as well as, oh, for Pete's sakes, I'm a brain blank right now. What's the other large funding agency? NSF, okay. And they do have a fair amount of money. The nice thing about FAPESP is that they actually get a percentage of the entire tax base for Sao Paulo. Brazil's a big country. Sao Paulo is the richest of all the states within Brazil. And they have a lot of ecosystem of research going on. They have a lot of investment. It's a very popular place for companies to come in and start businesses. So they generate a lot of taxes, all right? 2 to 3% of the taxes that they generate in Sao Paulo go to FAPESP, okay, to fund research, all right, and to fund other educational outreach programs that FAPESP is interested in. So what happened in 2013 is Ohio State met with people in FAPESP, and they agreed that each entity, Ohio State and FAPESP, would invest a certain amount of money. They both invested about $700,000. Okay, so they had a total of about $1.4 million. And with that money in 2013, they had proposals submitted from the United States or from Brazil, but the caveat was that if you were going to propose a study, it had to be a collaboration with a scientist in the other country. So if you wanted to propose a study here, there had to be a collaborator in Brazil. And both groups had to provide a proposal that would actually say what their investment was going to be. All right? And I think what they did is they set a dollar figure of again, this is kind of a pilot project. They set a dollar figure of about $20,000 per project. Okay? And I think they received 39 applications and they funded 24 applications. Most of those studies happened to be in the STEM area. Now there were as you would expect, okay? But there were some proposals that were also in the social sciences, okay, also. Now, here we are in 2015, and now what they are doing is they are developing a new round of proposals. And this time they're investing more money, and they're going to actually fund 2 different types of or sizes of projects. They will continue to have projects that fund at about $20,000, okay? They're also going to have a smaller number of proposals that they will fund at $100,000, maybe 6 of those. So I'm assuming that Ohio State is probably going to increase its investment, but FAPESP is going to increase their investment. And the idea here is to really get some innovative, creative types of research. And in the discussion that we had today, this is not going to be limited just to STEM research. There will be opportunities for educational research, there will be opportunities for social science research, and so on. Now, there is another organization that I did not know about until today, and that organization, the acronym is CAPIS. CAPIS. Now, CAPIS is the organization in Brazil, particularly in Sao Paulo, that is interested in improving the quality of higher education. So there are also funding opportunities through this organization, CAPIS. And again, I don't know that much about it, but if you have any interest in getting any more information about that, what you want to do then is contact the person who is the liaison for Ohio State University, who actually lives in Sao Paulo. He's here visiting right now. His name is Luke Barbera, or Luke Barbara. I'm not sure how he says it. And if you want to ever contact him, it's Barbara, B-A-R-B, Barbara, okay, .2 at OSU.edu.
He'll also be here on Wednesday at 9:15.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yep.
So he can provide you with any of the information that you want on these different programs. All right? So I think this is a really exciting opportunity. But there's also the same kinds of things that are happening with the gateway with China. There's an improvement and expansion of that gateway, the improvement and expansion of what's going on with India as well. So all of it is really good news.
May I ask you a question?
Yes, please.
So, have you had experience with this yet?
Well, I'm going to tell you about the experience that I've had,
Okay.
specifically with it.
Okay, I was just going to ask, is it like writing a grant? I mean, is it the same kind of proposal?
Yes.
Are we doing a budget sheet and all
Yes,
of that
yes.
as well?
And in
Okay.
fact, I think probably what Luke will share, and they did today, they're just developing this, well, actually Luke didn't share it, it was a fellow by the name of Kenny. I think he's the one who's an assistant to Carol Whitaker in the research office, but they are developing the template for grant applications, okay?
Okay.
Now, if you want to do this, there's one stipulation, that any scientist or anyone who you want to collaborate with in Brazil has to have had FAPES funding before. And if it has to, or currently, either currently or before. So they, again, there's so much money that FAPES enters into their system that there are numerous opportunities for their scientists and their researchers to get money from FAPES. But they want to have someone who has actually proven that they are doing what they consider legitimate research. So if you're going to team up with someone from Brazil, it has to be someone who has FAPES funding. Either
Is there a
currently or-
listing of who that could be?
Okay, now this is another thing that they're going to share with you. They have an unbelievable resource that you can go online, and I would hope that Luke will share that with you on Wednesday, or at least tell you about it, that you can go in and link and find any researcher under any area in Brazil who's doing research in whatever area you might be interested. You can find out who their students have been, where they've gone, the research that they do. There's a bio. There's a rule in Brazil, unlike the United States, that you have to keep a current CV. You have no option. Every year your CV has to be part of your, just staying in the system. You have to update your CV so that they can actually then have an accurate representation of what the person's doing and also use it for marketing and outreach. So that's
Not a bad idea.
right. He showed it to us today. He showed us how this thing worked. I was amazed at how much data there is. And even though a lot of the material that you'll find online might be there in Portuguese, he also was saying that they've had really good luck by using Google Languages. Just highlight it, hit it, and it will translate it at least well enough for you to get a pretty clear picture about what the person's doing. But it may not work in all languages, but they told us today that it does work pretty well for Portuguese. But
I should add, we have an undergrad student worker whose job it is this past month to look at the FAPES website and find people in education with funding. So we're getting a short list.
that's
Wow.
terrific. That would be great. because they have a lot of information out there. So let me just tell you about our personal experience. When I came here in July, one of the first things that I heard about was the development of this Brazilian gateway. And one of the professors in our department, Human Sciences, we're the human ecology side of education, human ecology. We have a very active nutrition program, and we have invested very heavily over the past year in our exercise science program. So we have, I would say, in human sciences, two internationally renowned areas in human science and exercise science. So with that background, and knowing that there's a lot of comparable interest in nutritional research and exercise research and the combination of exercise and nutrition in Brazil, we wrote a grant, or we wrote a short grant, and received funding. Actually, I had to fund a third of it with department money, so all those kind of grants. All right, so we got a third of the money from the international office, got a third of the money from the dean, and a third of the money from my department. And 3 of us actually went to Brazil. There were supposed to be 4 of us, but one of the guys got the flu the morning of the flight. So we flew to Brazil. We went to Sao Paulo, an amazing city. I don't know if any of you have ever been to Sao Paulo. Huge city, 20 million people. And it looks like there's 20 million people. It's just really a congested place. We visited the University of Sao Paulo, their main campus, which is considered probably the best university in all of South America and Central America. In fact, some people refer to it as the Harvard of the Southern Hemisphere. It's an amazing school. So we visited with faculty members there. We also went to other regional campuses that are associated with the University of Sao Paulo. We went to a town that's about a 2-hour drive, that's even in good traffic, between Sao Paulo and a little place called Piracicaba. Beautiful town, beautiful town. It's got a river running through it. It's got all these shops and restaurants. The people are, I mean, it's just a great, I would go there and spend time if I had the chance. They have about 400,000 people who live in Piracicaba. And it's there that they have some of their best research in terms of food science and exercise science. And then we went to another town called Campinas, which is about halfway between Piracicaba and Sao Paulo. And Campinas is about the same size as Columbus, about 1.2 million people, very metropolitan, another great university, and they've got some really good scientists there. So over a 3-day period, that includes flights there and back. It was a nightmare trip. We flew to Brazil, we met with people over a 2-day period, and then flew back. Okay? Now let me just say that I was extremely impressed with the quality of the faculty. I was extremely impressed with the quality of their students. Their doctoral students in particular are extremely well-qualified students. In fact, I would say that for a student to get into the doctoral program there, it's more difficult than any program that I'm aware of in the United States. Any student who wants to get into a doctoral program in Sao Paulo has to submit a research grant as part of their application.
Wow.
So they're looking for experience. Okay, so you're getting kids that are extremely, or young adults. Everybody's a kid to me. You're getting individuals who are extremely motivated. And I know based on some experiences that, like Mark Fayella, who was one of our faculty members who retired last year, a couple of years ago he had a couple of students from Brazil in his laboratory. I had a chance to meet a couple of them down there. Extremely proficient in English, really, really well trained, and very productive. When he came here, the one student spent 6 months and got 4 research papers out of it.
Wow.
So really motivated. Okay. The other thing that I'll tell you that probably of less importance in the social sciences than it is in our field is that they have no shortage of the best research technology in the world. I would say that their typical laboratory has as much, if not more, and better equipped laboratories than we do at Ohio State.
Wow.
It's that they really invest in their research there. So, you know, you go to a place, it's like in the middle of the jungle, and of course the jungle has its influence on the buildings, you know, because of fungus and all of that. It kind of eats away the concrete. So you're looking and go, well, how are these labs going to be? And you walk in and it's like, oh my gosh, pristine. You know, one lab they had just renovated, and there were about $3 million in equipment sitting in crates ready to be unloaded. I mean, there was no shortage of the very best technology. So my impression is that regardless of what your field of interest might be, whether it's in education, or whether it's psychology, whether it is behavior, whether it is nutritional science or exercise science, the quality of education and the opportunities that you have to build strong relationships and collaborations with people in Brazil is phenomenal. And I would really encourage you to look into it. And based on these new initiatives with FAPISP, it looks like a lot more money is going to be invested. So that's what I can tell you about my experience, and one that we are going to be investing more in. Since we came back, now that was December, we had said that what we'd like to do is maybe have some sort of a workshop or international meeting or something somewhere along the way, just to show that we've got this relationship going and all of that. Well, about 2 weeks ago, I get a thing in the mail, and well, actually it wasn't in the mail, it was an email, and they have established, which is going to be later this month, the first international meeting in exercise, in science of nutrition, sport, and metabolism. It's going to be in Sao Paulo. They have invited 3 of my faculty members to go there, that they're paying for their trip out there to give presentations at international lectures. And I have to tell you that the quality of this meeting, the people they have speaking, the topics that they're going to be speaking about are first rate. This is going to be a great international symposium. So I think Mark Vail is going back, Rich Bruno is going to go, and also Jeff Volek is going to be going to make presentations as part of this. So this is something that when we said we thought we should probably have some sort of symposium or something, we thought it would be something we would develop here. Boom, they did it. And they're supporting the entire thing through FAPISP, okay, because they see the value added. So it's something to think about, and I think there'll be real dollars associated with some of these opportunities. Yes?
Just a question. If the country, as you have mentioned, has got these research facilities which are world-class, how do the local community benefit from this, especially the impoverished communities in Sao Paulo?
Well, actually, the one thing that I noticed is I've been to several places in the world, and I have to say that the stark reality, the stark differences between those who have wealth and those that don't is extremely obvious. You know, you see those favelas that, you know, that are on the hillsides and all of that. Now, a lot of people choose that because it's sort of like being in the mafia, you know, you're protected when you belong to a favela, okay? But the point is, there is a lot of poverty there. Brazil as a country, however, is well suited to making not only improve the life of their people, but actually the world population in terms of the research that they're doing on the ecosystem. I mean, you figure that there's more rainforest in Brazil than any other region in the world. You find out a lot of things that they've done to protect that, for example. There's only one road that goes across the entire Amazon basin, okay? And at one point they thought they were going to build a railroad across the Amazon basin. They got about halfway through and people were dying so often from malaria and other diseases, they just stopped it. So there's no rail transportation. Really the only way to get around Brazil is to fly. I mean, that's going from one place to the other, you have to fly, because there's no infrastructure except around the major cities. So I think, I guess to answer your question, they are very well aware of this. They do invest in and provide all kinds of social services to their people, but I think in addition to that, they also are, I think, well positioned to really make a major impact on the world population in terms of the research that they're doing and what they can provide in terms of just an increased knowledge base on ecosystems and so on, which is huge there.
When you went, did you stay on campus or?
Well, we stayed right next to the airport in Sao Paulo when we first got there, and then we stayed in a nice hotel in Piracicaba.
You felt safe though?
Oh, yeah, I mean,
I'm asking, if you see
no,
things you
no,
don't know.
no, Piracicaba, I would say, well, I don't know how safe the short north is, I've never been mugged, okay? But I felt every bit as safe walking at night through the streets of Piracicaba as I did any place on the short north. It's a very vibrant area, a lot of restaurants, a lot of boutiques, that type of thing. It's a university town, so you have the benefits of what a university town can provide. I would say that I would probably not have ventured more than 2 blocks away from the hotel at the airport. But again, it's like any big city. It's like any big city, but I'm sure, and they're very careful to let you know where you should go and shouldn't go and all of that. But I mean, I'm from Southern California, probably no worse than trying to walk through downtown LA at night, So.
Speaking of big cities, I think the college talks a lot sometimes about an urban mission. And before I had this job with international programs, I had always interpreted that as in the U.S. context. But now I'm thinking, we do a lot of work in Indonesia, that's Jakarta.
Sure.
Bob is a big project in Wuhan. You're doing things in Sao Paulo. And when we sit and look at all of these cities, they're all in the top 20 of the most populated cities in the world. And I'm just thinking that in addition to the domestic U.S. mission for thinking about urban ed, we can also think about international engagement in the great urban cities. I wonder what thoughts you have about that.
No, I think it's absolutely true. I mean, speaking about Sao Paulo, they are well aware of the challenges that come with a city that large. I mean, they are challenged by, these are just based on conversations that I had on these long car rides. They are very concerned about the quality of education and the safety of the students and all of those kinds of things. So I don't think that there's probably any problem that we don't think about here that they don't think about there as well. And as in any area of research, I would expect that the more we actually communicate with one another and sometimes find that there are cultural differences in the way you approach a problem, we could probably benefit from that quite a bit. They may have some key ideas that would help us and vice versa.
So I have a question for both of you. I'm in Ed and Men, and I'm curious about the training of administrators or principals. Did you see or hear anything about how people were trained? I know you do the service on teacher training, but I know Zimbabwe, they don't have any formal training for administrators. I don't know about South Africa. I've been to South Africa 2 years ago, and it is beautiful, by the way.
Thank you.
It is. But I didn't know what they do in terms of training principals or licensing principals.
We don't really use the license in South Africa. What happens is you have to earn a qualification. So most of the principals should have a higher level of qualification than the teachers. And in most of the cases, they have to perhaps take leadership courses and management or administration. So you cannot be a principal if your major was business studies. You should have done master's or PhD in leadership and management. So that alone would allow you to become a principal. You don't have to, you are not subjected to a test of getting a license as a principal, like here in the United States.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't get any perspective on that one.
Okay. Well, I can check the site and get some information.
Sure.
And also the experience counts, I guess, for one to become a principal. You cannot leave college today and tomorrow you get the post as a principal of school X.
Yeah, so my work allowed me to do Zimbabwe and China in talking to administrators about how they make sense of their leadership, particularly when they haven't had any training. So I'm very interested to hear more about South African leadership and pursue this also with Brazil. Since we have a gateway, why not use it? Right?
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, I think that any questions you have or any areas that you think there should be some sort of engagement. The Office of International Research or International Affairs, I'm not sure what it is, and actually Luke Barber, well, he has all the information. He
I'm
knows
gonna reach out.
about everything. He's a terrific guy.
Can you come Wednesday morning to meet him?
I cannot,
Oh,
I have to go to
okay.
ARA tomorrow.
Right, of course, yeah.
Thank you, though.
Yeah, I think it seems that they brought all the Gateway people in for the same week or two. And this is the week they chose, so, yeah.
Now, I know they're gonna have a social tomorrow night, so, and I don't think they're taking names for that, so, and it's over at, what's the, George?
Eddie George
Eddie
Grill,
George, yeah,
5
from
to
5
8.
to 8.
Is it Tuesday or Wednesday?
Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm
No,
not.
he's gonna be
Right,
in
because of
Chicago.
course you're going, yeah.
But anyway, if anybody who wanted to actually just talk to anybody in an informal way,
Yeah.
we're gonna have that happy
I'll
hour.
reach out, though. I thank you for
It's
this
actually a happy
information.
3
This is
hours.
great.
Are you on the Brazil, did you want to be included on the Brazil, we have a little listserv just started yesterday.
I think I'm already on it.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Did you
I
get my
got an
email
about
yesterday?
that, Yeah.
Okay, great,
Yeah,
great.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's good, good. Well, thank you so much.
Well, it was my pleasure.
It's really great.
It's great
Thank you
talking
so
about
much.